your right today. Take advantage of our forefathers and mothers who fought for us to exercise our human rights. Honor their fight when election day comes and cast an X, check mark, or circle on your ballot. And thank them for their hard work, struggles, and pain. Thank them for what they endured so you can make it to the polling station. Thank them for what they survived so you can speak your opinion. Thank them for fighting, even dying, so you can be heard on election day. Thank them and give them the respect they deserve. Go out and vote. Why vote? Vote because you can. Vote because you have opinions. Vote because you have a voice. Vote because you have a say you want to say in your government. Vote because you care for your country and its future. Vote for your future children, your future grandchildren, your future great-grandchildren. Just go out and vote. Why vote? Vote because if you are a woman, you were once not considered a person. Vote because our earthly godmothers who came before us knew better than to consider a woman a non-person. Vote because thanks to women like Susan B. Anthony, Nellie McClung, Emily Murphy, and the Famous Five, who fought for you, me, and all our future female descendants, we can safely go out and cast our ballots. Vote. Why vote? Vote because if you are colored, you were once forbidden from voting. Vote because once upon a time, your voices were ignored because you were not deemed a human being. Vote because our four descendants, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Jesse Jackson, wanted you to have and utilize your human right. They fought for our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our spouses, our children, and for you and me. To honor them, we need to go out and vote. Vote because you have issues you care about. Vote because you have a country you care about. Vote because you have family you care about. Vote. Want to say in healthcare? Then vote. Want to say in the economy? Then vote. Want to say in education? Then vote. Want to say in your rights as an employee or an employer? Vote. You want to say in your minority or orientation rights? Vote. Want to say in your immigrant or civil rights? Vote. Want to say in other rights you don't know about? Then vote. Go out and vote. Show love for your country. Show love for your future descendants. Show love for your past descendants. Get out there and vote. Vote wherever you are. Vote whenever you can. Vote whoever you are. The best way to get involved is to get out there and vote. Vote for yourself. Vote for your children. Vote for your future grand and great-grandchildren. Vote. Take advantage of your rights, our rights. Go out and vote. Take control of your life. Take control of your future. Vote. Your country depends on you. Your family depends on you. And your future descendants definitely depend on you. Go out and vote.
Yes. On the 21st of September of 2019. If you're living in Canada and you can't, there's a lot of controversy going on at this election was called, where we have pictures showing up of the Prime Minister, Canadian Prime Minister, yes, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, in a blackface, brownface situation, and that is creating some storm around. That should not be enough. Opportunity to welcome on board this evening with us Success Radio. That's you could catch them out on www.successradio.com. and Nice Radio in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are on board, and they are on board with us this evening because we are going to do an interview with Evans Bartley Morgan, a member of the 8th Army. And not too many people could remember the 8th Army or know anything about the 8th Army. We hope by the time we are finished this evening, you will have a better idea about the 8th Army and who this Evans Morgan really is. The man is from North Run in earlier on, and he is in house alongside Malcolm Garraway, and we are just preparing for that discussion with him in a short while. So we encourage you to continue to listen to Success Radio, Nice Radio, and Cancardi Radio this evening as we continue to bring you information and updates and carrying also. So keep it locked as we continue. Listen to this. A man from right here in Toronto, originally out of Trinidad and Tobago, living here in Toronto, singing his music here in Toronto.
Election time is a mountain that we still have to climb, Mr. Politician. All your talk is a water down.
Yeah, 100% BC. Say that yellow.
Yes, 100% BC sitting in the studio. Well, 100 times, how much? 4, 5? We are here and we are in the company of welcome on board, welcome all the listeners out there. We are going to get into the situation. Along with Garraway, and sitting next to him is I'm not going to tell you how beautiful she is. But his beautiful wife is here with us, and we are going to get into this conversation. Welcome, Mr. Garraway. Come with Garraway. Welcome to Cancardi Radio once again.
So beautiful, so wonderful. She shot away for zero affination. Yes, so beautiful, so wonderful. White, black, and brown.
Lovely studio. It's a very homey feel to it, and it's always relaxing, and it sets the stage. It's always relaxing. It sets the stage for the conversation, which we hope we're going to have this afternoon.
Yes, and And I must also welcome you to Canadian Content. You're no stranger to Cancardi Radio. And welcome to Canadian Content. And also next to you is Mr. the honor of guest this evening, our special guest this evening, Mr. Evans Barkley Morgan. Welcome, sir.
So many countries and all war here. But every time I talk, I said my home and my number one is St. Vincent. And I remember one when I was studying university. They asked me to pay to come and teach there, to be there. I said, no, I want to go back to St. Vincent. The man said, no, you can't. We love you so much, and you are such a pleasant person, and you're qualified so much. Why don't you stay here? I said, no, my number one is St. Vincent. He said, I can't believe it, because this was in England. He said England is a number one country. St. Vincent is under England. And why are you going to St. Vincent? I said, because St. Vincent is the place where I was born and the place where I live. He said, oh, all right. He said, I give you my blessing, but if you don't like it, come back anytime you want. And we will give you the job what we want you to do.
Wow. You heard it from the man himself. Just a little piece of what is in store for you this evening. And let me take this opportunity again to welcome Nice Radio and Success Radio to tune in this evening to Cancardi Radio as we do Canadian Content here. And talking to the man himself, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, you were one of the 8th Army. And could you share a little bit of that for us while we...
As I have said before, I was working at Stubbs Government School as the assistant headmaster. But the headmaster was going home with his car and he crashed and he had to stay away. And they said, we don't know whether he'll come back. But I became the headmaster at Stubbs Government School. I stayed there and I substitute other things that never done before. I had a place, I'm there, and I made a place for them to play cricket. And the people there became so very close to me. I stayed there and I did exactly what I wanted to do. Stubbs Government School was then recognized as one of the best schools outside. And anywhere they go, they said, you have Mr. Morgan with you. Don't treat him bad, Always be there with him. And I really enjoy being at Stubbs. However, I really enjoyed it. I opened up some things that they never had before. When the children come to eat, they had nowhere to eat. They had to stay down there. I stayed out. I said, look, it is better to have something somewhere for the children to eat. And they also changed the places, and the children had a nice place to eat. The time came when I said, I am going to be here a long time. However, what happened, St. Vincent will go into a place where they have election, because St. Vincent was under England and became independent, and they're going to have an election. So one of the teachers said to me, I know we'll miss you, but why don't you go? Because we will want you to be with us too. I said, no, if I go, I cannot return. To cut a long story short, I said, okay, I'm going to go, and I'll do as best as I could. But I will always remember how nice you were and how good the children were at Stubbs. To cut a long story short, I went, and Comrade Charles came from overseas, and he said, "Oh, we are going to have an election." I said to him, "Well, I would like to be a candidate." He said, "Oh, where would you like to go? Which one? Which area?" I said, "I'm in Western Park, there where I live, and I will love to have this constitution." He said, "Well, you can take whatever you like, but we will always want you to be here and to be here with us." One of the people said, "Oh, but why don't you go up to Georgetown?" I said, "No, it's too far, and I love this. I love Wheatland Park, love Mesopotamia, and Argyle, and those areas." And so I said, okay, we will take you." To cut a long story short, we had election, and the 8 of us who were candidates, we were all elected. Those that were there before, not one of them, not one was re-elected. We all were new and became, they said, "Oh, this is a change, but it will be a good blessing." However, we had a wonderful time there, and I enjoy it. I did what was necessary, and I changed up quite a lot of things while I was there. And I became very well known throughout, not only in St. Vincent, but the other islands, what I was doing in Wheatland Park, and what I was doing in the other areas, and also in the whole of St. Vincent. So I really enjoyed.
So, Mr. Morgan,
when I was elected,
yes.
And listen, they had one man came from overseas. He came. I kept in the area he was, and he was a candidate. You know, when the election came, how many votes he got? 2. 2 votes. The other 2 people from Kingston, they had a shop, and they also were elected. You know how many candidates? What happened? Tell them how many I got. 4,004 votes. And the other person who came up had 9, and the other one had 2. And people couldn't believe it. But the people became so close to me, and I would love them so very much.
So, Mr. Morgan, that's a whole lovely story. But so I get the impression that what motivated you to take that step, because you were doing so well at Stubbs Government School, at Stubbs School, and changing people's lives and helping the children and so on. But you saw the need to take a further step. So I have to believe that it was because of your love for these people in this community why you made that other step to go into politics. Am I correct on that?
Yes. I wanted to help the entire island. Not only this. I wanted to help the entire island, not only in Stubbs. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to go into politics.
Jimmy, I must let our listeners know that we are sitting with a political and community icon in Toronto, and we are speaking with a man who is 93 years of age, who has come a long way from Brampton over into Toronto to join us in the studio and to tell his story. And I feel honored to be sitting with him. I sat with him in the 90s in a executive meeting of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Association, and we had similar conversations. But Jimmy, you know, I think we as a community, we need to be aware of all our people that we have around us, especially those who have not only done well in their private lives, but who have gone out of their way to help the community at large and help others. And I feel that what we are having here this afternoon is a way of recognizing that this wonderful man, the last of the great ones of the 1950s, can come out and speak with us. This is a valuable and must be a treasured and recorded moment.
Yes, comrade, I have to agree with that. And one of the things in doing some background check on Mr. Morgan, I'm going to say this here, in St. Vincent, while checking that they have ceased in St. Vincent, as he's no longer exists. I mean, but the man is alive and well here with us in Toronto. So I hope could go back and check the record and change it, because it's not yet, man. Hold on, he's still here with us, and it's a pleasure to be in the studio with you, comrade Garraway, and the veteran himself, Mr. Morgan. It's an honor to be here. We're talking Mr. Morgan's story about how much, but we have to remember that at that time he was just hitting 20, 21, 22. And he said he was the principal at the Stubbs Government School at the age of, let's say, 22. Because when he ran and won his seat, he was just coming out of short pants, hitting 23. And he would have been elected at the age of 23. So this gentleman have a lot that he have accomplished in a very short space of time between leaving school and 23 to be elected. Yes? Yes, so at your tender age of 23, being a principal,
yes,
a headmaster back then, you would call him headmaster, right?
Yes, I was at the principal at the school.
Yes. And it's done on record, I don't know how true it is, that you're the youngest elected parliamentarian in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Now, one of the reasons why I left the school is not because I love it. I wanted to help the island, not only the school, but the entire island.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I decided to go into politics. And I'm sure I fulfilled what I wanted to do, because I did what was necessary when I became a member of Parliament.
And that was wonderful. And you're still up to today helping to change things. And we have to say thank you very, very much. A little while, and then we'll come back and continue this conversation here. Let me take this time out to welcome Nice Radio on board and welcome Success Radio as we speak to Mr. Evans Barkley Morgan. The man is from back then it was the North Windward, South Windward community, and today, if you go back to, and I don't know where he ran, because that maybe. Let's pause for a pause, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
And we're going to bring to you that profile on Joseph Chatoyer, who died on March 14th, 1795. He was a Garifuna Carib chief who led a revolt against the British colonial government of St. Vincent in 1795. He is now considered a national hero of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Chatoyer was a great leader as seen through by his methods of battle and by his following. During battle, Chatoyer did not destroy property for the sake of vandalism, as Duvalier, an old leader, had done on the windward side of the island. Instead, Chatoyer preserved it so that he could use it in the future. This action shows remarkable foresight, as Chatoyer, despite the great odds against him, was able to defeat the English twice. He was also able to mold his army into a remarkable fighting force, and the strategies he used to inflict blows on and to negotiate with the English indicate that he was a man of great character. Perhaps the most pointed indication of his leadership was what happened to his troops. When he died, most of the French soldiers immediately forsook the Carib cause and fled to Layou. The Caribs themselves were so shocked at their leader's death that they retreated to their villages. From then on, the very character of the Carib War took on an entirely different complexion. For 2 centuries, the indigenous Carib population of the island succeeded in resisting European attempts at colonization by retreating to the mountains, densely forested interior of the island. By the 1770s, however, both Britain and France had made inroads on St. Vincent, and in 1772 the native population rebelled. Led by Châteauet, the First Carib War forced the British to sign a treaty with them. It was the first time Britain had been forced to sign an accord with an indigenous population in the Americas. In 1795, it became apparent to the local population that Britain had no intention of keeping to the treaty. This time, however, the Caribs were joined by a group of French radicals inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution. In the Second Carib War, Châteauet divided the islands with Duval, another chieftain. Working his way along the coast, Châteauet met up with his French supporters at Chateaubriand, and together the forces worked their way to Dorchester Hill, where they would launch their attack on Kingstown. On March 14th, a battalion of British soldiers led by General Ralph Abercrombie marched towards Dorchester Hill that night. Châteauet was killed by Major Alexander Leith. Though the rebellion continued until June 1796, Châteauet's death led to the desertion of the French supporters and turned the tide of the war. Châteauet is now considered a national hero of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A monument to him stands on Dorchester Hill, where he died.
Welcome back as we continue here with our interview this evening. Malcolm, there's a lot of things that is taking place, and we hear today about young people not getting involved in politics and all the different things. And here is a gentleman at the age of 23 running for politics because for a seat because he has seen the need to help others. I want you to take that away from me, please.
Yes, Jimmy, I think this is a very, very important point that we have to understand. We're dealing with a time in 1951, adult suffrage, when in the strength of colonialism and the people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are struggling to represent themselves, and a time where if you are not of the plantocracy, landowners and so on, you are not seen as any force to reckon with. But as you said, here's a young man from out of Richland Park who stands up and goes to stubs and help the community and help children, make them happy, make them learn. But he sees the need to go further. I have to help the whole country, he said. I have to help everybody. This one community is not enough. As a matter of fact, when he approached George Charles to run, George Charles asked him which constituency, and he said anyone. In other words, I couldn't win in anyone, and in anyone I win and I could help everybody.
Yes.
That is the point, and this is the strength of this and the vision of this young man. That is, it really touches me. At 23 years of age, up to this day, I guarantee there's no other parliamentarian who has been elected to our parliament at a younger age than Evans Buckley Morgan, up to this day. And we have to, I'm proud that we have him in Toronto, but I'm saying to all our listeners, where you are, in New York, in London, home in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, look for people like who have given of their time and service and their lives to our country. Just the other day, Jimmy, there was another politician who died in February of this year, Flick Haynes. I'm sure, Buckley, you remember that name.
I do.
Yes. So Flick Haynes was in St. Vincent all this time. I, for one, thought he was dead a long time ago. I never knew he was there until his death was announced in February of this year, 3 months short of his 99th birthday.
Wow.
And we have not been speaking to him. We have spoken to him a few times here and there, but what have we done other than that? There's so much to learn from these people, little things here and there, and encouragement and so on. I am challenging our people this day, Jimmy, wherever we are, St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the diaspora, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Rock, do not forget our people, long ago people, recent people, present people. Give them a look up, give them a call. Let us take advantage of who we have around us. Toronto, we have a wonderful icon, we have a man here that we should be proud of, and I'm happy to be here sitting with him today. Really, really very happy.
Comrade, I share your sentiments, and I agree with you that we have to look out for our people. And though from 1951, he would have been setting the trend. And if we had continued that trend, we might have 15-year-old running in Parliament today. If he started at 23, we could have 15-year-old running today. But somehow we lost that track. I know Mr. Morgan is in his 90s. He's still a sharp and everything else, looking well. I must admit, when I see him, I was wondering if they fool me with his age. But and he's looking well. He's still alive, still kicking, still doing all the things and have his marbles with him. And yet, when you look at the politics in St. Vincent, our members are not running. They're not getting involved. People are saying the young people don't get involved. And I'll go back to something when I check the record. The biggest turnout that we had in St. Vincent political history would have been back in 1951, on percentage base. Up to now, we can't top that. Mr. Morgan, could you tell us what it was like campaigning back in 1951?
To go campaign?
Campaign when you go out to look for votes. You didn't have to do that. You was good enough.
Okay, I'll tell you. When we had come with Charles, and when we had come with Charles, we were doing a tremendous job. However, we went on, and after the election, we had a new man who came. He was in another country, and he came over, and he decided that he is going to travel Charles, because Charles don't have much education, and he want to do better for St. Vincent. And he came, and he decided he going to run for election. He selected some people, and he said, okay, we are going to take over St. Vincent. However, he came to me, and he talked to me, and I said, I am going to stay with Mr. Charles. And as long as he's there, I'm going to do as much as I could to help. However, the election came, and I was the only one that was re-elected. He came to me, and he said, oh, I know what you are doing, but I am not going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to let you continue as you are doing head up there, because after Common Charles was me. He was number one, I was number two. And he said, okay, I am not going to do that. And he put somebody in my position. And then they tell me, okay, you know what you can do? You can go to the police, where the police there, and you can do what you could do as much as possible. However, I said, okay, I'll do as much as I could. But I was not able to have a good relationship with him, because most of the people he had were saying, oh, Common Charles had no education and he should not be governing St. Vincent. And he has an educated man here, and he make him to stand up, but not him to alone. He should be the Prime Minister. And so I said, no, I stay as long as I could. And when I couldn't do as much as I love to do for my island, I decided that I am not going to stay and work along with him, because I was the only one that was re-elected, and he didn't like that at all. He wanted somebody else otherwise than me.
But you went on. Comrade, you wanna?
Well, really, I assume that Brother Morgan is referring to the arrival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines of Ebenezer Theodore Joshua, who had come back from Trinidad, having contested the election in San Fernando under the banner of Uriah Buzz Butler. Of course, Comrade Charles had done likewise in 1950 before he returned. So they returned a year apart. But what is interesting, what the interesting thing is, and Mr. Morgan talk about him being willing to run anywhere. I look at the figures of 1951 election. This man won 85% of the vote.
Yes.
85% of the popular vote he won.
And back then,
Distribute the other 15% between the other two groups.
and the spoiled ballots also.
Exactly.
So
So you can imagine that the love that the people had for him, which is a manifestation of his love for the people. And of course, we're happy, again, like I keep repeating this, we're happy that he's still with us in Toronto. And you talk about his healthy look and all that good stuff about him. I myself, because like I saw him in the 90s, and he hasn't changed very much in terms of his physical appearance. And I have to believe that his lovely wife, who is sitting right in the studio with us, has had a part to play in this.
Well, I'm very proud to be the wife of this amazing man. He is always on the positive side of life. No matter what comes his way, he always thinks very positive. And in terms of looking after him, he's at this point, he is a very devoted Christian. He is a Seventh-day Adventist, and he eats well. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink, and he looks after his health very well.
This is wonderful, Jimmy. Indulge me, please.
Come on.
But your name again is?
I'm Irene.
Irene.
Yes.
And you were from Trinidad?
No, I'm from St. Vincent.
Where? In
St.
Richmond
Vincent.
Park?
Yeah, I'm from Calder.
Calder, from Calder.
Calder.
I told you earlier, Malcolm, inside here it's 100% Vinci
100%, you did say that.
times 5.
Yes.
So
we're proud of you. We're proud that you're doing such a wonderful job. And I was looking at some notes, and where Mr. Morgan said that he, as you indicated, he doesn't smoke, he don't drink, and he stay healthy because the other thing he does is play cricket. He loves his cricket.
Oh yes, cricket is a big part of his life. He plays cricket almost every Sunday, and he played cricket until he was 83 years of age.
Wow.
And up to now, if he goes out and he see anybody playing cricket, he would say, "Oh, I would love to go and play cricket." So cricket is a big part of his life, and he has started the Etobicoke Cricket League, which is functioning very well right now. There are a number of leagues in this, a number of teams actually in this cricket league. So he's really enjoying his cricket, and he doesn't keep it to himself. He loves the young people, and they will ask him questions, and he's very, very, very anxious to show them and to explain cricket to them.
Comrade, I love the game of cricket, but I thought I would have a lot more love. I am stopped playing cricket now from about 50, and this man played up to 83. Is there still hope for me and you, sir?
But something that's an interesting one, because there are days when I wake up and feel I can go on the ground and still play.
Yes.
And then I will go out. As a matter of fact, when I leave the studio here, I'm going to the cricket ground where my team is playing, St. Vincent and Grenadine Sports Club. And but I know if I go on the field, I would not be able to hold my own. I come to the point that I really have to give up. But yes, I want to salute the people of Calder and the people of Richland Park. We have their son and their daughter here with us, who have made their contribution, and we are so happy and proud of them.
I'm following Mr. Morgan. He's a devoted Christian, and he stopped playing cricket at 83. I'm just trying to find out what position you used to play.
I was headmaster. I was the leader of this, and I had. Oh yes, I had. As a matter of fact, I never buy a bat. They bought the bat for me from there. from Kingston, they bring it up to it and say, "Oh, Mr. Morgan, would you take this bat and let them know that I give you and let other people buy too?" So I never bought a bat. They always give me a good bat. As a matter of fact, I had 3 bats at the same time. And I enjoy it because now they give me with good mind. And the bat that I had, and when I get a new one, I pass it on to somebody else. But
Yes.
I really enjoy playing cricket. By the way, my father was a wonderful cricketer too. You must have heard about him. My father was a wonderful cricketer. And he said to me, "You know, son, you must also patronize me and do exactly what you do. And wherever I go, my father will come to see you play cricket." My cricket was not only that. I love to meet with people who are honest and who are truthful and who are prepared to do what is right. That is my aim and object.
Nice. Comrade,
Yes.
as we look back and follow this gentleman's career a little bit, playing cricket up until 83 is not an easy task. As I said to you earlier, I quit. I think I quit while I was ahead, but now I'm beginning to think I could take back up my guns and come out again, because I'm not in my 60s as yet. I'm heading there, but I'm not there yet. So maybe I should come back out, because even what Mr. Morgan did, that's 23 more years ahead for me if I could make it that far.
I think you should, Jimmy. I really think. And indeed, there's a cricketing icon of St. Vincent and the Grenadines who is over 80, I believe. And he's still doing well, bowling and batting.
You're not talking about Joker, right?
No, not Carlos Smith, but the well-known man from Dorsetshire Hill, Zepton Graves, still batting and bowling well.
That's another.
80 plus.
That's another gentleman. We should get in our studio to have a discussion with.
As an educator, Jimmy, having been a headmaster myself, I've taught elementary and secondary school. I have something I noticed with regards to Mr. Morgan. One of his achievements was as it relates to the change in what we used to call back then reading book. So before my time and my father's time and so on, and later on my older siblings' time, they had a book called the Royal Reader.
Reader, yeah.
And I think you were instrumental, Mr. Morgan, in making some change there.
Yeah. Tell me the Royal Reader.
Yes.
The Royal Reader, of course, was not what I thought should be done in the islands. And while I was there, I changed it from there to what's in Indian.
West Indian.
That's right. And I said it is better to have that than to read and to do what he said from school in England. And as a matter of fact, the children love it so very much. And right through the island, people were also imitating what was done, because we had a new vision and a new aim and object than what we have listened before and did before.
So, comrade, again, back even in 1951, St. Vincent was ahead of the game, setting the pace, if I could use that word, as far as the Royal Reader and the new coming in.
Yes, Jimmy, and we speak of this lightly, but it was no mean achievement, because to get something to change in that period of time, when you're dealing with the colonial masters and the administrators and the treasurer from out of England and so on, who control the legislature and so on, you couldn't just walk up and say, let us change this. You have to struggle and fight to make it happen. So in that 1 year that he was there, to achieve that, when I came along, I was reading the West Indian Reader. I knew in my house
That's right.
there were Royal Readers, because my father and my brothers before me had to read those. But that, to my mind, was a major achievement, as simple as it looks.
Yes, because what they had before were focused in England.
Yes.
But what we had now It was focused on the area, and people now, even the young children, were enjoying it. And they used to say, oh, one of the teachers said, it's a blessing now that we moved from England to where we are now. And the people really, really enjoyed it. And today, it's still there. It's still what it is today.
And Comrade, again, as we say, they were setting the pace from 51. He was a visionary, if we could say that, because to see the need to move from the Royal Reader to the West Indian Reader, it's a great accomplishment and a great change, and that was done back in 1951. So by now we should have been way ahead, away from those things by far. So sometimes when people say they're making changes and they're doing things, they really don't. They really don't. These things already been set up long before. And we continue here on Cancardi Radio, bringing you information that we ourselves are learning about, brand new stuff. And we hope that you are enjoying this conversation. Again, welcome on board Success Radio and Nice Radio. Welcome to all the listeners. And hopefully we will continue this conversation as we go forward. Any updates on the storm, we're encouraging you to please be very cautious where the storm is concerned. Please follow all the instruction that is given. And as the night get down low, that's when a lot of things could happen. So prepare yourself before you go to bed tonight. If you're in a low area where flooding is possible, we encourage you to go to higher grounds. And if you can't, then the shelters are open. Please utilize the shelters and take care of yourself. All right? And here in our studio with us this evening is no other than Evans Barkley Morgan, the man out of Richland Park, alongside his wife out of Calder, which is the area that he grew up. He teach in Stubbs, and I think back then Calder, Stubbs, everything would have been in one. I have this conversation all the time, Comrade, because I look at Stubbs as the whole area, and then people just tell me, no, Calder is not Stubbs, and no, this is not Stubbs, and I always have that mix up. But today I think I could pass on it, that St. Calder and Stubbs, everything is one for today. Could I get away with that? Or back then it was like that? I
don't think you could get away with it. Calder people and Stubbs would have a comment with you on that. But yes, South Windward, as it was that time, that included Mariaqua. For Mr. Evans' election, we had that whole section of what we now know as Mariaqua Valley, that was part of the whole South Windward constituency. And so he had to traverse all that territory to win his votes. One of the things that interests me, I don't know if actually Mr. Morgan alluded to a split within the 8th Army. He mentioned about what might have been the factor, what may have caused that split into the 8th Army of Liberation. And we must remember, this 8th Army name is a name that was drawn from the Second World War battles,
yes,
where the British had the 8th Army. We had Vincentians who served in the 8th Army, I had cousins who fought in North Africa in the 8th Army of Liberation. And so that name came from that. But it did not last long, for whatever reason.
But for somewhere along the line, Comrade, the split back then, part of what the gentleman mentioned is the education thing. So we could see even back in the in 50s that we were having this problem with education and who is more educated and who should lead and who should not lead. And I'm wondering somehow that continue up the road. And even though Mr. Evans was just 23 at that time, he was not considered not educated because he was teaching, he was a principal acting at that time. And still today, we're hearing people talking about education and how who's educated to lead. Because he was not the leader, George Charles was the leader. And he settled for George Charles being the leader, even though he was a lot more popular, it seems, than George Charles would have been. Because George Charles has just came back and he was saying he could have run in any area, which means he'd have been popular to run in any area.
Yes.
But he was big enough to say, allow Judge Charles to go forward as the leader, and he did not come out as they want to say Judge Charles is not educated enough to lead him. Somewhere along the line that creep into the politics, and it have not come out as yet.
Yes, it has. You have a strong point there, in my opinion. Of course, we as Vincentians, we recognize our sons and daughters who have done well academically. We are proud of them. And we depend on them to help and lead us. So we admire them and we look up to them. Indeed, they have to understand that we, the people, so to speak, have understanding too. And we have been taught how to think, the power to think. So that means that even though we may not have a long list of letters behind our names, we still have the power to think as Vincentian people, and we demand to be recognized as such. And that's what Evans was talking about, that he was not prepared to let that belittle
Yes.
the leader, Charles, of course.
Yes, and another thing that we're seeing back then, that the poorer people, the average man, the man who was underground, who was then the majority of poor, they came out and vote, and they were not bought. Because when you look at the people that win back then, Evans would have back then run against wealthier folks than himself. People with businesses, and those was the people that was running. And he would have won easily against wealthier folks, people who had the money. And you're wondering if today we have lost something, because today, even in North America now, they're telling you it's money that win an election and not the people. So the people somehow lost that independence that they had back down in 1950, when they would have voted for the best representative and not being able to be bought.
Probably Mr. Marvin might have a little comment on that. I am not sure. Do you feel that at that time when you ran, there were people with lands and plantation and so on you had to run against, but the people still voted for you?
Well, when I ran, I was hoping and pray that when they had the re-election, that Commander Charles will there, and we will then continue. So I was very, very, very sorry that happened, because when the new man came, he only wanted people what he wanted, and when he put somebody in my area for a re-election, they got 2 votes. The Watkin in my area, 2 votes at my wife's area, 2 votes, because I was there and was hoping and pray that we will able to do something that will bring St. Vincent so important to the other islands, and St. Vincent will there as an island leading.
And you know, the other thing about that's interesting too is, and I was talking to Evans earlier before we came on air, about lifestyle of people at that time, 1950s, early 1950s. How did people live? How did they survive? And I noticed, one thing I have noticed in the data and wages, at that time when Evans ran and won, men received 80 cents per day for their work, and women 60. But before they left office, it had creeped up. In the same year, it had creeped up to 84 cents, 85 cents, and 64 cents. So here, there were always some little thing happening that the 8th Army of Liberation was pushing for, that was helping to improve the lives of people, which is why he said he went to Parliament in the first case. So there was that reading book story, there was increase in wage, and I think beyond 52, later on it did take off with some 10% increase and another 10% the following year. So that set a trend for the improvement of people's lives. we have to understand. I keep going back and trying to understand the circumstances, the powers that be that hovered over these elected men, and still they were able to mix up political pressure with maneuvering to attain little things. And for that I admire them.
And there was a split shortly after, and we're hearing about the guy that came from overseas, and it's nice to hear this, because what I'm getting here is I'm seeing myself going back into the 1951 election, as hearing Mr. Evans, who went on to England, get his master's, and even went on to today get his doctorate. But yet I'm hearing that 1951 coming out of him in as if it's just yesterday, as a sense of the word. He's still talking about the guy from overseas. He's not saying like from England or from. It was just. I don't know if you picked that up.
Yeah, I find it interesting. But again, he said it in his opening statement that he has traveled the world.
Yes.
But everything leads back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because it's a paradise.
Yes.
And I know lots of us out here in foreign land, we share that view. And we are with him as a brother. We are thankful for him. Again, for me as a member of this community, a former president of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Association, and of the National Council of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Associations, of netball in Toronto, of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Sports Club. I as a community man, I feel happy. I don't care if I repeat myself a million times. I feel happy and I feel proud of the son of the soil, who many people think have gone on, but still is with us, and who can impart a little bit of wisdom here and there. Give thanks. Give thanks.
Let me take this opportunity to say thank you very much, Mr. Morgan, for your contribution, not just today, but in 1951, because you had set the trend in a lot of different things home. Wages increase. You changed the book from the Royal to the Royal Reader down to the West Indian Reader, and today we're still using close to that. We're not in St. Vincent Reader yet. I mean, we still into the Caribbean Royal West Indian stuff. So we must take this opportunity to say thank you very much for your contribution, both at home and abroad, because even when you leave St. Vincent, you continue to fly the flag of St. Vincent in so many different ways. It would be encouraging all the listeners out there to grab hold of this man bio, and I think we would have to get it and put it up on SVGT website, something that one should look back and able to see, because we are talking here to Mr. Evans. He's 93 years old, and that's a lot going, and he have all his stuff, but they're not as sharp as a 16-year-old or a 23-year-old when he was back then. But to listen and to read what he has got would be interesting to see. So we would have to get that bio and put it up on the website, and I think Vincentian should try and get it, www.vincitoronto.com. Please look out for that comment there and follow this man record. Playing cricket at 83,